the recruitment process. I would like to tell the committee that the recruitment process is guided by the following procedure. 1, declaration of vacant posts. I'm on page 18, where vacant posts are declared. Number 2, advertisement of the vacant posts. And number 3, the recruitment of prison constables. And on recruitment also, I'm on page 19 on top. Other than the prison constables, we also recruit cadets and technicians. These are diploma and certificate holders on different entry level, guided by the scheme of service of the Kenya Prison Service, and university graduates as cadets in the fields related to correctional services. Upon recruitment, the recruits are trained, or they go through an initial training of 9 months, but for cadets it takes 13 months. It's longer. Honorable Chair, honorable members, with regard to 30% reservation for public procurement for disadvantaged groups since 2016, the table on page 19 shows that except for the year 2020-2021, the other years under scrutiny, we have not reached the 30% AGPO requirement, but 2020 we exceeded it tremendously, actually, because the percentage was 58.5%. And the table also shows how much of that procurement has been done on the basis of the principle of Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. Honorable Chair and members, the total budget set aside for procurement of goods and services in the financial years from 2016 to date is shown on the table on page 19, which goes up to page 20. And that table explains the budget every financial year. For example, this financial year 2022-2023, we have a budget for procurement, which is about 2.5 billion shillings, and out of which 448 million shillings approximately is reserved for AGPO, that is access to government procurement opportunities for youths, persons with disabilities, and women entities, and approximately 308 million is reserved for the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya initiative achievement. The procurement disaggregation of budget is for the previous years is provided in that table that spills over to page 20. Honorable Chair and members, the number of youths, women and persons with disability whose goods and services have been procured in the by the Kenya Prison Service since the relevant law entered into force. The table is provided for since 2016-2017 financial year until the 2022-2023 financial year. That table is provided on page in these protected groups. Number 2, there has been by bidders also there are younger officers to be promoted while they are still in service, and that will go a long way in improving the morale of the officers. I submit, Honorable Chair.
Thank you so much for that presentation, and it's now time for members to ventilate, ask questions, clarifications, comments, and I start with Engineer Zengo.
Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity. I want to take this opportunity to thank the CS for the presentation and also for getting time to be with us here today. We know he has a busy schedule every day, and I also want to personally thank him for having taken time to visit my constituency and helping me solve some problems there. Now, coming to the submission of to the report today, I have made a couple of observations. First, it's good to appreciate that no ethnic community has been left out in the prisons, in Kenyan prisons. But there are a number of imbalances that I've observed in the submission, and I'll try to capture the many that I can capture, and then the rest of the members can contribute on the same. Now, when CS, I note that out of the current workforce of Kenya prisons, the 5 major communities of Kenya currently constitute 64.249% of the entire workforce. That is a serious imbalance. So much as we appreciate that you've just recently been appointed in that position, maybe the staff of your organization may be given an opportunity to explain to the committee why we have 64.249 out of 45 communities of Kenya being taken up by 5 major communities. Number 2, the other observation is that much as we had not indicated that the percentages were necessary, it has become very difficult to interrogate this document because of lack of percentages. We have had to work it out ourselves, and normally we would not admit a document of this form, but because of the level that is involved today, maybe we have made an exception. Chair, you will have to guide on that one. But having said that, I will refer you to page 10 on the lower level, lower cadre staff, which is constables to senior sergeant. And my question is, why would you have people that are 61, 62, and 63 years old at the levels of the lower level? What explanation can be given? Those people should have served in that organization for a very long time. And then again, I will then draw your attention to the question on the employees before August 2020 and today. And again, you realize that the 5 major communities, during that time, they know this one, maybe someone has not captured it. Yeah, but one thing the CS said is that he was talking about uniformed officers. He never mentioned anything about non-uniformed. What does that mean? Does it mean that there is also another category of staff that he has left out in this presentation? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, CS, I think as we have listened to you through, you will also listen to us through. Tell everybody else to take records so that we'll react to these things at a go. Honorable Yusuf.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank the Cabinet Secretary for making his time to come and respond to our inquiries. I also want to encourage him to come to our Nairobi constituencies. I hear good compliments that you have been visiting. Some of us had even had difficulty seeing you in your office, so I hope you put that on your calendar. My take is on the people with disabilities. You didn't spend a lot of time. I made inquiries. I had missed that particular section, but there's no percentage for people with disabilities. But if I could calculate, it's 0.9 if I follow the 2.9. If I follow the example of my brother, who has given us percentages, that is below, extremely below the requirement. Article 54, subsection 2, specifically says the state shall ensure the implementation of at least 5% of people with disabilities in elected and appointed positions. And I see here there's a major shortcoming. And I also think there's a perception in institutions like the Ministry of Interior that disability is inability, that people with disabilities cannot perform specific functions that are required of them in uniformed forces. And I think that is terribly wrong. In fact, there are two institutions in my own neighborhood, or that come from my neighborhood, that employ entirely people with disabilities, and they're doing quite a good job. So I think this is a deliberate and an intentional purpose on part of those officials under your supervision, and it is a clear violation of our Constitution as far as Article 254 and 232 of the Constitutions are concerned, and which you have been sworn to uphold. So I want to say that we should take that up, and I want to know what actions, concrete actions, are you taking as a Cabinet Secretary to address that. And then the second point that I have noted is that what is the reason for spelling out some specific communities? For example, the Somali community is described in many groups, more than any other ethnic group that you have on this list. Is there a reason for that? Why there are 10, 15 subsections of that particular community? Why is that not the case with the Kisis, with the Merus, with the Kalenjins, with the Kikuyus that you have on this list? I think this is weaponization of identity. It is cannibalization. It is balkanization. And it's not good for our national cohesion. It should be eliminated. And I want to assure you that I would support you, but when you have this little percentage of little groups, it's not possible to make sense of whether we are doing. And then finally, I wanted to know who are the other Kenyans? This is a very small percentage. Do we have other Kenyans? Why are we describing them as other Kenyans? Thank you.
Honorable Jane.
Point of order, Chair. Thank you, members. I appreciate that had been said, whereby we had called several. That is what is anchored in the Constitution and the Act. You remember over 10 organizations coming with the documents without percentage, then we had set a precedent of referring them back to put their house in order with percentage, Chair. So I wanted the Chair, before we proceed, I wanted to know that now this team which has visited us, are we treating them special? And why is it that we have declined in the precedents which we have been set? Number two, that one is on HR. When I go now to procurement.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Point of order, you're not giving these people special attention. Can I respond? It was about questions of procurement.
No, I'm procurement. Actually, the procurement part of it, is too wanting. The only thing we... But now, he has also listed the companies which has benefited. We don't know those companies. He has not even attached even minutes of tender evaluation committee as a sample. He has not even attached the letter of awards and certificates of on the AGBO. They also benefit from 70%, not only 30%. That information is not there. So, as a Committee of National Cohesion, our work is to do what we call institutional audit. In the absence of all this information, the same way we had set a precedent before. Thank you, my honest observation and comment.
Okay, Honorable Were, thank you for that. But this is the disadvantage of coming late.
Thank you, Chair. Allow me to first thank the Cabinet Secretary for a good job he's doing in Laikipia. Though now we are having illegal grazers, you need to come in and help us. Then next question. CS, allow me to politely remind you, there are only 3 things in this country. We need the illegal grazers out. So I proceed to my questions, and one of my colleagues had alluded to it, Chair. I would want to bring our attention to question number 2, which asks about Article 54, Section 2 of the Constitution in regards to the representation of persons living with disability. The question remains unanswered because we'd have expected to see if you have met the 5 of 92 officers plus another 30 who are trained, so are above 60 years. My question would be, what is their special ability for them to have their contracts extended? Then page 10 gets me a challenge of career progression in the service, but we have so many people retiring still at the junior level. And I don't know if the ones at 59 years who are now 189, you may sympathize with them again and extend their contracts in the sympathy of their ending their careers as junior officers. Kindly let's look at that, because even if you look at it upwards, you can still tell there are so many officers who will still retire at junior levels. That said, I also have a question in regards to who is Somali. For the first time I'm hearing that. Number 41.
Mary.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank our very busy CS for a concise and informative presentation. Of course, I share similar observations, concerns and sentiments with my colleagues, but I have one question. Bona CS, you said you'd like to see your young people ascend to management level at an early age. I'm just wondering what to see that happen, because I think it's a great idea. And welcome to Moya. Thank you.
Can you give him to introduce himself? Mheshimiwa, just introduction. Come late, so you'll be the last to be given opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Honorable Mwalimu Hari Kombe, MP Magarini, Kilifi County, Shakahola.
Karibu Mwalimu ya Shakahola. No hand raised? Okay. Duncan, DMM.
Thank you, Chair. Allow me also to congratulate CS Professor Kindiki for personally taking charge of the ministry and appearing in person before the committee. That is commendable. It is a first, and I want to acknowledge. My question, CS, the second compliment I want to give is the wide representation in terms of the Kenyan ethnic communities. Although I think what they have prepared against the official document that shows to comply with the AGPO requirement. Because all the other years we have not managed the 30%. And that would be a worrying it's a worrying trend or pattern for the department. A department that has a presence in literally every corner of this country. The second omission on that area is that the AGPO requirement does not just require you to reserve and award. It also requires you to pay within a certain timelines. That detail, again, I don't know whether it is by omission or commission, it is conspicuously lacking. And therefore, that means we cannot really be able to score you accurately on your performance in that area. Lastly, although this may not have been included, we have the question of pending bills. And as you know, I am home. I represent one of the constituencies, one of the biggest institutions in Kingongo prisons. And the story there is not very good in terms of pending bills and the treatment of my suppliers there. And on the same vein, again, of the main subject here, there's the question of the centralization of procurement in the department, because we think that these institutions ought to be engines for stimulating local economies. But when I have the supplies in Kingongo, largely dominated by suppliers from, not supporting the local economic, the local community, and therefore the local economy, I have reason to worry about the economic survival of my people and the constituency. Thank you, Chair.
No worry, Chair. Invitation. And I'm happy when he actually spoke about the issue of procurement, especially of challenges. You've spoken challenges facing other categories, but the challenges of people with disability didn't come out. I know there are so many challenges about the issue of people with disability. And if we don't get the challenges, then we may not even get the answers. How to address the issue. There must be a challenge. And the challenge is maybe the challenge we may not get the answer, Banasias. So leaders, so for all of us, that today we want to note that the institution here, that nothing is mentioned. Financial year 20. If you go back to a table on page 19 and page the column of 2017 and 20, the financial year, there is nothing that is implicated about the budget. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, my vice. About people living with disability, and she's a voice, I assure you guys. Mudhoni.
Thank you, Chair. First, I wish to appreciate the CS and his team for the presentation. Also, I want to appreciate Waziri, for your good work you're doing in Lamu, although we're still having a lot of challenges because my people are